massacre, and you should check it out. And I watched it and realized pretty quickly what it was. It was a video that was called Collateral Murder, and showed the company that I deployed with on the ground, not in a helicopter, but shown on the ground. And experienced a lot of emotions at the time when I watched the video, but as I started to look at the conversation and the discussions surrounding it, there was a lot of surprise, and people were saying that it was incomprehensible and that they couldn't understand something like this happening. And as I thought through my experiences and just things in our nation in general, I think there's a lot of reactions to have from this video, but to be surprised, I don't think is one of them. To be saddened is definitely one of them. To be troubled at what is going on in Iraq is definitely one of them. But to be surprised, I don't think is. As was pointed out before, the Winter Soldier hearings a couple of years ago, plenty of veterans came forward and explained things even more intense than what was shown in that video, and I could tell you stories of things that are more outrageous than what was shown in that video. But I think if we look deep enough in our society, that it goes far beyond just the battlefield. I remember in my high school classroom learning things like the dropping of the atomic bomb or other bombings throughout history that targeted civilian populations was a means to an end. And so that mindset that people are shocked over in the video of sometimes you have to kill civilians to get what you want, that goes far back into our society. So if we're looking for ways to change that, I'd say start with education and start with what we're teaching our children in the classroom and what we should be teaching them, and instead implement things like peace studies programs, which actually is growing in Another reason I don't think this should come as a surprise is so many things that I was taught in basic training. The battle cry when we were all called to attention, we would stand there and yell, "Kill them all, let God sort them out." And if that's something that you're telling young, impressionable people, many of whom enlisted with, I think, very idealistic thoughts, wanting to defend their country and told that they were going to be spreading freedom and democracy and making the world a better place, you slowly break down their psychology by telling them to scream things like that every day and to entertain these mindsets. And those results, I think, are bound to happen. So if you want to change something, take a very hard look at the basic training that we're putting these young, impressionable people through that is very psychologically calculated to break down that humanity and to take that mindset again that I was taught in high school, that sometimes it's all right to kill civilians to accomplish your own goals and not to reconcile that. Another thing that can be changed is that when I started having concerns about those trainings, I wrote back to leaders of my local religious institution and asked them why we were singing cadences about killing women and children and watching videos about very destructive images, bombs being dropped, and Middle Eastern men being shot, and singing songs like "Die Terrorist Die" to go along with it. I wrote home, and the answer I got was that you just have to have trust in God and also in the military institution that they know what they're doing. So if we want to change things, we have to look at the training, and we also have to look at the people who are saying that teaching people this is honorable and is good and is necessary. And then after training, getting into that actual situation, again, what you see in the WikiLeaks video is extremely troubling. But I would say that, again, it's not by any means the exception, and it's something that I think is inevitable given that situation. We were going through a lot of combat at the time, and a roadside bomb would go off, or a sniper would fire a shot, and you had no idea where it was coming from. And Mr. Hedges, I think, did a good job of explaining just that constant paranoia and that constant being on edge. And if you put people in a situation like that in a neighborhood where there's plenty of civilians, that kind of thing is going to happen and did happen and is going to continue to happen as long as our nation doesn't challenge these things. And I think that after this video has become public, that it is now our responsibility as a people and as a country to recognize that this is what war looks like on a day-to-day basis, and the way that we're training our soldiers and the situations that they're putting them in is not only betraying their idealism that they enlisted with in the first place, but creating more enemies all the way around and not solving any of the goals that we went in there with, or at least that, that myself and my friends thought that we were going to accomplish. Another step that I've tried to take personally as I've gotten back is to work with a group of students in Afghanistan who are talking about things from their own perspective. And one thing that our government also has not done is really listen to the voices in these countries that we claim to know so much about. I myself had a lot of assumptions about the people of Iraq before I went in, and now I'm trying to do the revolutionary thing of just listen. And I've been listening to these students in Afghanistan, tried to bring them here to do a speaking tour, and they were denied and told that they were threats for staying too long, but their message can still get out there if you go to their website at ourjourneytosmile.com. Another step that myself and a friend of mine who's actually shown in the WikiLeaks video have taken is that as the response of Secretary Gates was to talk about the reputation of the United States, we decided to write a letter of responsibility and reconciliation to the people of Iraq. We would love for our government to do the same, but we're not going to wait around for them, so we took that step ourselves, and we're trying to establish a trust fund and start to work with the actual people of Iraq, and so you can find that at lettertoiraq.com. And on a final note, again, I think this WikiLeaks video, as it has been made public and as it is a center of conversation, even though it's dying off in a lot of arenas, is a great opportunity to talk about these broader issues and to shape the conversation. And a lot of people have just been pointing to the individual acts and calling out the soldiers, but I would say that the soldiers were doing what they were trained to do, and the Secretary of Defense put their stamp of approval on it. And so, as the saying goes, what you see in the video is the nature of the beast, and instead of looking at the fangs of the beast, I think we need to look at the entire beast and not get distracted by what has been expected of the fangs. So that's the thought I'd like to leave you with, and a couple ideas of how to change things. So thank you all for gathering.